about kindergarten soft placement. So kindergarten soft placement is a new way of thinking. One of the biggest challenges, as you all know, is getting class placement underway. It takes so long. And with our kiddos going into first through fifth grade, we have so much information and so much knowledge about them. We know students they work well with, students they don't work well with. And that makes it really hard when it comes to kindergarten because a lot of these kiddos are coming to us and we know absolutely nothing about them. So kindergarten soft placement gives us that opportunity in those first few days of schools to really get to know each individual child and build a classroom that has a culture that really fosters everything that they need, social, emotionally, academically, behaviorally, and it creates that foundation for the rest of the year. But honestly, that foundation for the rest of their school success. Kindergarten is such a crucial year. So by observing students' needs, friendships, and interactions early on, right fit classrooms can be developed for all students. So classroom list ideas. When I have done this in the past, our classroom list were split pretty randomly the first couple of days. I would put them in and I would just randomize the list. After the first couple of days, we would really sit down with all of our kindergarten teachers. We would look at what they were observing in their classroom, students that worked well together, students that had struggles, teacher personalities, and we determined who we could move, what combinations of kiddos we wanted to try, so that the last 2 days were kind of like trials, and we would continue to move students throughout the day to make sure that we had just right, best fit classrooms for each child. At Dwello, we used a dot system. As you can see, Mrs. McDowell was our yellow dot. She was assigned this. It was outside of her classroom door. It was at the restrooms that she used. It was on all of her lunch tables. It was the same visual of the yellow dot with her name and the picture went outside to recess with our recess monitors. We just wanted to make sure that the same visual was posted everywhere so we could be as consistent as possible. That yellow dot aligned to the check-in, check-out teacher. So Mrs. McDowell was if you had the yellow dot on your lanyard, which you can see in the second picture, then you would be in Mrs. McDowell's classroom for that day. That yellow dot you would see everywhere. Anyone that was additional staff could look at that and be like, oh, you're a yellow dot. You go with Mrs. McDowell. Again, this was outside the classroom, posted for everyone to see. It was at bathrooms, it was at lunch tables, and it went outside with recess monitors. What we would do in the classroom is a teacher would hold up every single one of the dot colors. Students would get in those individual lines, and then we would move students from that check-in, check-out classroom to their class for the day. Again, that class for the day was dependent on the dot color on their lanyard. An example day, it was very important for our kindergarten team that all of our teachers were teaching the exact same thing throughout the course of this week so that students were not having the same books read for the next 2 weeks. Some things that we really noticed and we pulled out from our couple years of trying this is that it was really important that we had the same attention getter. So as a staff, we agreed upon DUELLO. Our school name was Dwello. That was our school chant. So it was something that even though teachers individualized within the room, that we thought was important for our classroom environment so that no matter what room they were in, students knew what that meant and that it was to stop and pause. Something else we found is that teachers really wanted to be able to have that time to use those books like Chrysanthemum and The Kissing Hand when they had their class truly developed. So you'll find that a lot of our read alouds that we built upon were things like Froggy Goes to School and The Recess Queen, more generic books so that those favorites could still be used to build community when those final classrooms were established. Specials. We told our specials teachers that it was okay if they had a child 3 times in that week during that trial phase. During that time, you should be practicing routines and expectations. And let's be honest, it takes a while for our kindergartners, so it is okay. Again, in the lunchroom, we had those color dots placed at the tables for students, and adults had signs with color dots for teacher lineup outside. Again, consistency is key, and providing those visuals is so important for our younger learners. Arrival and dismissal. Car tags were on all backpacks. Car tags look very similar to the one pictured here. Students started and stopped in their check-in, check-out classroom. We found, even though that the tag on this picture shows homeroom teacher, homeroom sounds very final. So that is a key tip that I have, a takeaway from many years of learning this, is check-in, check-out teacher is not as final, and that is the language that I would use. We used the check-in, check-out teacher who was responsible for attendance and for dismissal. There was a shared communication form between all teachers. Again, the colored dot that they would visit for the day also goes on that backpack. The purpose of the backpack tag was so that any staff member in the building could quickly look at the child, know where the child was supposed to be, who was responsible for their attendance, how they got home, and all of those key informational pieces. This is not something that is unique to kindergarten soft placement. Many of us are already using backpack tags or stickers on those first couple of days of school. We also did ongoing assessments during this time. As a building, we decided that letter, sound ID, cat book handling assessment was important, our writing sample, identifying numbers 1 to 20, and rote counting to 100. We had additional staff in each room. We utilized some of our SLPs at times. We utilized administration, our counselors, our mental health professionals, anyone that we could to get all hands on deck to make sure that we were capturing who each child was and that we had academics to support that as well. Because we were not looking to have one classroom with all of our students that were reading and one classroom with all of our students who, let's be real, didn't know their name yet. So we wanted that mixture so that we could have that wide range. Placement considerations. We really looked at special education, at parent request, and diabetics and medical needs. We took into account all parent requests. We reminded parents that yes, you can tell us the characteristics of your teacher, but we're going to do what's best for your child, and we're going to see these interactions and see how it plays out. And parents were very supportive of that.
Hey, Dawn, do you want me to sign for you?
This is just an example flyer for kindergarten registration that we posted in our newsletters on our website, and we gave out at Cruise into Kindergarten, which was a Saturday school event for incoming kindergarten families. Again, as soon as you decide and you commit to kindergarten soft placement, it is something that you want to get out in front of. The more communication, the better, and it really helps ease families' nerves. Special K only social. So this was something that was important to us. At the back to school meet the teacher that all schools are doing, we call that Meet Kindergarten. You could come in, you could walk around to any of our kindergarten classrooms, but again, there was no tie to an individual teacher. So what we decided, so that families were provided that opportunity to get that face-to-face time and get that picture with our kindergarten teacher, we did a kindergarten meet the teacher the night that we decided our classrooms were final. We paid our teachers for 2 hours. They had an hour with families, and then they had an hour without families that they could put supplies away. This was important for us because they still have students showing up the next day, unlike meet the teacher when staff are given that time and flexibility to put supplies away during those back to school time. Updates from staff. Staff feel like it was very beneficial. There was no academic difference, but classes were fair and they got students where they needed to be. This video is in the next slide. Changes for kids, none. They don't know any different. They've never been to kindergarten. Kindergarten is new to them. It's all new. They've got this. Changes for families. Their child is truly getting a best fit classroom. They have that no kindergarten first day of school picture. Kindergarten check-in teacher as opposed to classroom teacher for those first 4 days or however many days your school decides they would like. And then they find out their student's placement after the first full week, again, 4 days, however long your school would decide. Changes for teachers, less time assessing. They've had staff in there. They've done some of those assessing those first couple of days. There's no meet and greet earlier in the summer. There's no meet the teacher would appear differently. Classes would be more well-rounded, staff input on placement. And I just want to put out there, it really takes teachers that are willing to give up some of their time and a strong office team to make this work. And that is all I have for you. In the next slides, you will see some student and staff feedback. Thank you guys. Sorry I can't be there.